Hey guys, how's it going? It's your boy MKS here, back in another video. Hope you're well wherever you are, and I'll try not to waffle as I often say. Um, I know my videos are a bit strange, but I know I'm a bit of a strange guy, but I hope some people out there enjoy it. And I'll try not to waffle and explain things in too much detail, or whatever, because I sometimes do waffle a lot. But yeah, as my mum's out the house, I thought I'd make this part three finally from like a week or so ago. But yeah, so I hope I'll be able to explain this idea or vision of mine, which is probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite ideas, respectively. Yeah, I think it's a pretty cool idea, even if I do say so myself. But I'd love to hear what you think as ever. And again, I hope it makes sense. And if you have any questions, please post them in the comment section or even join the live chat. If they're on topic and all that kind of thing, I'll do my best to answer them and that kind of thing. But yeah, so here goes. So I hope I get to finish this video before my mum comes back. Hopefully she won't disturb my live stream, because that would be pretty annoying, as sometimes she or my brother have done so in the past. Anyway, I'm going to crack on with the list. So for anyone who might have stumbled across this, and apologies for people who have seen my previous videos, but I often make these list videos, so I do them in 4 parts so that they're not too long, hopefully, all being well. So hopefully I try and keep them to under 10 minutes if I can, or around 10 minutes or so, as close to that amount of time as possible. So yeah, so they don't go on too long, hopefully. So I'll break them into 4 parts where I come up with 10 ideas for each of them. Anyway, here goes. So number 21, to recap, any individual, I suppose, like a writer or a poet, artist, writer, or whatever, or a business or organization, NGO, charity, or any other organization, or religious or spiritual organization, for instance, included, who wants me to share, like say, religious literature or business materials or anything else. I hope to do it as fairly as possible and make it as fair as possible, even though I sort of lean more towards Christianity. But the dilemma is I want to keep it as fair as possible. So basically, if they help me to write a notebook or what I call loose paper or refill pad or whatever, or any sort of ideas in my own unique MKS style. And by MKS style, I don't necessarily mean the punctuation or even my writing style necessarily, although I want it to keep it as much as, like, even though my handwriting is scruffy, I still want it to be that way. Not that I want it to be that way, but that is the way I wanted to keep it real, basically. So it is the way I actually write. But anyone who helps me to say, right, it could be like a sheet of paper where when I write on refill pads, I use like the whole sheet. I don't really write in paragraphs when I do that. So I sort of write to the edge of the line. I sort of use each line and I write to the edge of the line, and yeah, I use pretty much the whole paper. So stuff like that, yeah, if they help me to write something like that, then say, for instance, if a mosque wanted to help me, wanted me to share like a Quran with it, then they could give me a Quran or whatever. And if a church wanted me to share any religious literature, including a Bible or anything else like that, likewise, obviously, if they helped me to write it, like if they gave me a place in the church or whatever to write, I would do that for them as well. Or a business, if they gave me like a creative room, or the council, or even a political party, for instance, or obviously council are often linked to political parties, I suppose, then I would do the same for them. So I hope that made sense. Again, if you have any questions on that one or any other point I make, please let me know. Number 22, I'll say this is probably my favorite idea, because I think it's quite a good and fair sort of way to do things, in my opinion. So I think it'll be pretty cool. Number 23, I suppose for charities or NGOs, or like what I call the 6, which I've mentioned before, like, or basically developing countries or colonized countries, it's a bit of a dilemma, because probably I would like to do stuff for them for free. But yeah, basically, if any organization helps me to write, as I say, or do any work that I'm proud of or pleased with, like if they help any of my projects, like if they help me with my plans for Italian football or Celtic, or libertarianism or human rights, or any of my political goals generally, or any of my philanthropic goals or whatever, helping developing countries or helping the poor or whatever, and that kind of thing, I would share whatever they want me to, like. So my work, really, when I write it, my works, I don't know why I put it in speech marks, but yeah, I want to give them away mainly to people in developing countries or former colonies. That's a bit biased, so it'll have my ideas on them, but hopefully people will be able to read those ideas. probably have to make a translation because my handwriting is not the easiest to read, I've got to admit. I only know because people tell me, and my punctuation I know when I read it back, which is very rare, but also when people tell me, I know it's not as good as I'd like it to be, unfortunately, although I do in trying to improve the punctuation. But I do have a lot of habits when I write, not in, as I say, not just including the punctuation, but I'll say that I can talk about writing on refill pads or things like that, and how I like to write on line paper because of my handwriting. And very much I thought, sorry. And yeah, but so if I have these strange patterns, like I don't like to write one letter on a line, or I don't like to write only one letter or one number or one word or whatever on a line for some reason. It has to be either two or more. I don't like to leave only one line at the top or one line at the bottom. It has to be either two or more or none. So yeah, I have some quirky patterns. Maybe in the future I'll talk about some of those patterns. Moving on, number 24. As I say, there's only 24 hours a day, and I have so many plans. But yeah, I hope this will make some sense. But as I say, most of it will be for former. I'd send it for people in former colonies. So if a mosque, like a Muslim organisation, a mosque or a church, a Christian organisation, obviously, or whatever, wanted me to share their literature, or like I say, it will be equally open to any religion. If Hindu Munda wanted me to share the Bhagavad Gita, or however you pronounce it, sorry if I butcher any pronunciations. Even my English pronunciation is not that great, as you probably can tell from my previous videos. But yeah, if they wanted me to share, again, I'd do the same for any organisation if they gave me a room to write in. Mainly it would focus on writing, but it could be other things as well. It could be like, I say, my quest to help Africa in technology, or help Asian businesses, or again, Italian football or Celtic, or my political goals or whatever. Yeah, if they help me, again, it's 1, 2, or 1, or share for share. Number 25, on that note, again, I do have biases like for Republics and all that, but I try and keep it as fair as possible. Again, it could also include, though, things like YouTube. If someone likes my video and say, I gave you a like, please give me a like back. A like, I put in speech marks for some reason. Or they subscribe to me and they want me to subscribe back, or they viewed my video and they want me to view theirs, or they gave a feedback or a comment on one of my videos, and they told me, obviously I have to know you did that. If you let me know, I could do the same. I can try and return the favor as soon as possible. I don't like to make promises just in case I can't keep them, or stick to them or whatever. But I can only promise one thing, which is to do my best. So even if they say, like, if I said I'd share a Bible for each thing I get to work or to write or whatever, obviously I'd have to have that opportunity to distribute those Bibles. And because I want to give my work to people in developing countries, it would have to go to one of those people in developing or countries or former colonies. Number 26. A lot of my work is about reparations and stuff like that as well. But yeah, so if people help me with those, again, help me with goals generally, I would hopefully help people to, I suppose if they help me to achieve my goals and work on things I can be proud of, I hope to return the favor, as I say, it's basically what it's all about. Number 27, on that note, as it's the 27th, this is the reason why, one of the reasons why I was struggling, because I wanted to do it like last week, but I think it fits in quite well with this week because it is kind of rewarding. So the number 27 for me is like a rewarding number. So I think it's quite good to reward people. I'm a great fan of rewarding people. If someone does something good for me, I like to reward them, and I'd rather reward than punish, really, if I can. But I think as human beings, we often think when people have wronged us, we sort of dwell on that. I know I do, and I'm sure most people do. But I want to try and think more about what people do for me and like rewards rather than punishments. So yeah, a reward for helping my plans, shall we say, including writings or other plans that I have, as I say, including YouTube, Facebook, or whatever other plans in the future, perhaps, even if I expand to other forms of social media or whatnot. Number 28, I hope this will turn negative situations into positives. For instance, this is really hard to admit to or talk about, but my mental health problem, I feel really ashamed to admit to it, but like, and I've sort of touched on it before, but I don't know if people will understand like how literally I'm taking it, but sometimes I sort of think about having, and I struggle not to think about like having writing. It would be hard to imagine really, but I don't really imagine it, but I think about it like having writing literally everywhere, as far and wide as the world, like literally all over the floor. And I can't believe I'm admitting to it, but yeah, like having writing everywhere, and I struggle to enjoy what little writing I have. I want to try and enjoy that more, rather than thinking about what writing I don't get to write on. And again, this would probably make me feel better. Like, part of me wants to trust in God more, like as I'm looking at it from a religious point of view in a way, but or trust in the process more, you could say as well, generally. But I suppose I leaned more towards Christianity, but I wanted to make it as fair as possible. So there's a point I want to raise in point number 40, which specifically, which I'm hoping to get to as soon as possible. But yeah, hopefully it will make me feel better, and knowing like if God wants me to share a certain amount of Bibles, He would help me to write that much work, obviously through the church, for instance, um, or if like I say, I lean more towards Christianity, but I want to make it as fair as possible to all religions and even businesses. Now I expanded to or organisations. Number 29. I hope people with things in common with me help me, and I'd be happy to. I often subscribe to or like or share videos from people of color, disabled people, people with learning disabilities, especially, and that kind of thing. And I suppose I do that without it actually even being shared to share for share, because or sub for sub or whatever. But I suppose that's another thing. It could be like sub for sub, but I sort of do those freely. But I think it would be good to get something in return, give and get, give and receive, not just always give or not just always receive. Again, I hope that made sense. And number 30, as ever, I would love to read your comments and questions, and I hope it all made sense. And I think it's the fairest way of doing things, like to give something in return, like, and to get something in return. It's like, I suppose, if you go to work and you get a wage, or if you're an employer and you hire someone, you want them to obviously do the work in order to get that wage. You don't want them to be sitting around messing around while you're paying them, I'd imagine, I would assume. And so I think life to me is like a series of deals. We make deals subconsciously. Like if we have a job, someone that says they don't make deals, I think you must have never had a career. You must have never had a job or a business or invested in something, because all those things are really deals, even deals we don't even intend to make. Maybe life itself is kind of a deal, but it's like if I can remember my thought again. Even things like benefits, state benefits, that's a deal that people made and said, like, it's a safety net for those who, for whatever reason, can't find work. And some people say people exploit it, and they get angry when people exploit the system and choose not to work. So I think as society, we try and tell people, do your best, get a job or run a business if you can. If you're too disabled, we'll give you a safety net. But even that's a deal, I would say. So I think pretty much everything you do is a deal. I'd love to hear what you think about that. And unless you lived in a sort of reclusive place or with a cult or whatever, even that's probably got some sort of deal. Anyway, I'm going to stop waffling, and I am out. Peace and love.